All right, so now we're going to go through coupling 2.5 inch hose. So again, just like the 1 3/4, we've added the 2.5 inch sized device on it that expands it out. Again, this one screws in first to the inner housing, and then this one screws into this outer housing. You got a spin wheel up here. This is what we'll figure our depth with. So again, just like we've done with the 1 3/4, we need to figure out where these expand out for our O-ring, because the O-ring will sit right in here, and that will bottom out on the inside of the coupling. So again, we're gonna slide it over. We're gonna expand it up, and you'll see it pressing back into there until it catches. There, it caught. Spin the collar down. And just like the 1 3/4, we're looking at half the depth of that gasket. There's roughly half that gasket depth. And we're going to pump this all the way out to where this expander is totally extended out towards us. And that'll allow room for this flange to slide up and on there. So now we know it's on there. Again, where these expand out, right here where these grooves are, that is where that O-ring is going to sit. So with the 1 3/4, we put it in the hose, we put it in here, and we're kind of guessing, and then we're blindly inserting that into there. With the 2.5, you can slide that up over that ferrule and then expand it out. And you can watch them expand out just to the point that it grabs it. And it's buried and bottomed out there. And it's just tight, so it won't slip and move as we're going and put it out. So now our gasket needs to go back in, because again, it's got to be out, because if that's in there, that space is going to be the thickness of that further out. So don't forget to put it back in there. Seat it all the way down. Then you put your hose in. And again, because you don't have that brass in there, it's a lot easier to bring this hose in and get it seated in there. And again, with the hose, all you need to do is get it seated up against that gasket in there. That's all I'm doing, just making sure that all the way around there it's seated up against the gasket. So if you looked in here, you'd see the threads, you'd see the smooth part where it rotates and spins around, then you'll see the gasket that we put in, and then the hose. And again, when we put this in and it buries out, it's going to bury so that this brass bushing, as it expands, is going to catch that gasket we put in there and then the hose. And again, we've got it set. We know that it's going to pressure up and pull in. So again, if you open this up, you can keep from catching that, and it'll slide right up and on. We're going to take it all the way to the housing, and now Kyle's behind me. I'm going to have him pump that up. And that pressure is going to come up. It's going to take a little bit. And if we look, we're going to 2,800. It takes a little bit the first time you throw it, just because it's got to expand up and then it's got to expand out that brass piece. We're going to release it. And he's going to pump it just a couple times, and it'll bring that, keep going, and it'll push it back out enough that I can give it a quarter turn. There you go. Now we're going to go back up with it. Take it up one more time, and this time it won't take as long because that's been already pushed all the way back into there. It's going to come up to pressure pretty quick. There we are. And we're just going to release release it. And then we'll pump it back down. And again, final test and look, you're going to look inside there. And again, with this one here, you can see that it's expanded, and you can see where it's pressed those inner rings in and around there and press that out. You can see that it caught that gasket. You can just see just a little bit of it in there where it caught that gasket and actually trapped it in there. So the last thing we need to do is get that O-ring that goes into the hose. And again, you'd know this when you test it because you'd have leakage. Replace that. And it's set. And then the last thing we're going to do, again, just for testing purposes, to check for any slippage on that coupling as we bring it up to pressure. That's how you repair 2.5-inch hose.